Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the J.D. Edwards 18 INFOCUS 18 Super Session. We hope you've had a great day of networking and learning, and we hope you've noticed that we've added more content to the first day based on your feedback. We're always looking to try and make this event better every year, and we look forward to hearing all of your thoughts in the coming days. So please make sure to complete your post-conference surveys so we can make next year even better. And now I'm very excited to end today's education with a great partner presentation that's focused on a real-world story from Federal Signal about how they moved their J.D. Edwards EnterpriseOne environment to the Oracle Public Cloud. Please join me in welcoming John Bassett, Executive Vice President and CTO of GSI, and thanks GSI for sponsoring this session.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. Big kickoff for the new event opening up, the vendor showcase. Today's session is moving Oracle EnterpriseOne to the cloud, or Oracle Public Cloud. I'd like to introduce today Jennifer Jensen, who is the Director of Business Solutions at Federal Signal, and Brian Hale, Manager in Technical and Cloud Operations.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Today we're going to be going over just some brief introductions of us, company overviews, then we'll talk about the actual project itself, reviewing the different cloud options, how the implementation went, lessons learned, questions and answers, and then you have to stick around for the goodies at the end. Just give a brief synopsis of how we all met and why we're talking with the folks from Federal Signal. Again, cloud computing, it's entered its actually the second decade. The cloud's been around for a very long time, but what we call the cloud for business is in about its second decade. And it's becoming more and more popular. Users are accepting it and understanding of it. And the Oracle Cloud is an enabler for all things Oracle, as you've heard over the last few weeks, few years, including what we've seen even today as a bright future for J.D. Edwards. So a brief history of how the three of us have met. About 12 years ago, Federal Signal was doing an EnterpriseOne implementation, an 8.11 SP1 implementation, and it was getting towards the end of the project, and they needed a little bit of extra C&C help. So I was working with Jennifer back then to try to get them over the hurdle and get them live. During that time, since that time, we've done several projects with Federal Signal, and we've done some managed services business. And then about a year and a half ago, we started talking to them about the cloud initiative. So at this point, oops, we did this. I went the wrong way. I'm going to turn it over to Brian to talk. Jennifer? I'm sorry, Jennifer.
Cool. Hi, everyone. My name's Jennifer, and I'm going to talk about Federal Signal. So we're about a 100-year-old manufacturing organization with facilities, and this upgrade covered about 18 plants, about 1,400 employees across Federal Signal, and I'll just switch to the slide. So we were basically broken up into two platforms. We've got an environmental solutions group and a safety and securities group. The environmental solutions group has our street sweeper business, our hydro excavator business, our water blasting business, a bunch of businesses that help work on the environmental applications that we have out there. We serve industrial, municipal, and utility markets. And we have a lot of different use cases in those businesses. On the Safety and Security Systems Group, we serve police, fire, heavy-duty work trucks, and we have audible and visual safety and security notifications and devices. So we're about $1 billion company right now, but this upgrade took into consideration about $600 million of that platform of systems, and so it was pretty high profile for Federal Signal, and we had to do it right. So the drivers of the project were actually the fact that we were coming up on the end of a contract with our current hosting provider. We had a really antiquated system. We were on 8.11. We had browser capability issues. Our dealers, our distributors couldn't use JD Edwards as well as they very well could have. Our service desk spent a whole lot of time getting people into the computer to use our system versus actually able to order from us very easily. And we were on third-party support with Rimini Street, and shout out to Rimini Street. They're phenomenal. They supported us. We did a great job back when the economy turned and everybody had to save a lot of money. That was what we needed to do, and we were supported. We ran well. But we did run into the edge where we started to need some of the new JDE functionality, like rental center features that Oracle just came out with. We had a bunch of the new technology that was being developed by Oracle. We were limited on, so we had some options.
Yeah, so the options, we kind of narrowed it down to 4. So we could kind of go with the same kind of contract that we had, or just let's start a brand new contract and with the same partner, with a different type of contract, and just kind of go with a different model. We kind of looked at that, and we kind of like, okay, that's one option. And then we went to the, let's bring it back in-house, because the option we had was had a hosted model off-site. And now we kind of decided, okay, what would it look like inside our own data centers and keep it inside of our primary and our backup data centers. So that was an option. We did have staff, but maybe we didn't have enough staff, and so we had to think about staffing. The last option we thought about is moving to the cloud, and so what kind of cloud were we thinking about going with? So this slide's kind of busy, but what you're getting is different kind of options of what we were looking at. So to begin with, we were looking at the private versus public cloud of the non-Oracle. We could do just internal expertise and scope it into building a solution that would work for us. The positive stuff, we would have networking guys, the system admin guys knows the network, and we could just bring it back in-house. We could do that. Database licenses would be maybe an issue. We might have to spend a little bit more money on that. Third-party applications, we have 27 integrations, and data is going back and forth between the cloud and different spots. So it may not be a good strategic move. So we looked at the private cloud. We actually looked at bringing the Oracle private cloud inside of our data centers. It was a good option. We could go with their OVA platform, and it was a pretty decent option, reducing the risk. But we kind of went with the Oracle public cloud. There was no hardware needed. We could spin it up. The risk was our network and system admins. They had to learn a lot really, really fast. This was our first cloud, so we learned a lot really fast, and it was a really good strategic move.
So the differentiator for us, we knew pretty quickly that we needed to go to an Oracle cloud because we had a lot of we had a lot of factors in play here, and we talked through a lot of those with GSI. Yeah. So one of them was we were going to get back on support just because strategically we needed to. We were looking at getting back, we had to buy more database licensing otherwise, and doing it through the private cloud, we knew we would have to do another move in 4 years. We'd have to move to another box, whether it was another private cloud appliance in our data center or move to the cloud at that time. And we figured, let's just figure out how to do it and do it once and move to the cloud, because the business testing and the limit, we just wanted to limit the kind of pain on our business. And you guys see that? Strategic investment. We're supported now through 2030, which is very cool. I talked about that earlier, but you got to tell everybody. So talking about implementation, this is how we got it done. We divided the project into 2 phases because I'm sitting there, so we got the money for the project. That's the first part, convincing people to do this. When they do the first JD implementation, it's kind of painful when you're rolling out an ERP years and years ago. It took us like 12 years, and all the business users remember coming off the 400 and coming off all their custom green screens, and they're like, I'm not doing that again. Like, why am I doing that again? So I'm sitting in a room like, hey, I'm tasked with this project. How am I going to sell it? Right? Number one, how are we going to deliver such a big project? Because we were doing a lift and shift as well as a 2-phase upgrade. Because the way that JDE is designed, you've got to go from 8.11 to 9.1 to 9.2. So you've got to move a whole lot of pieces. And like Brian talked about, we have lots and lots of stuff involved. So what are the business guys going to think? What are our executive team? Why are they going to sponsor this? And we decided, you know what, because we're going to do it right and we're going to earn trust first. So we did the lift and shift first. We explained that we were pretty much reducing complexity and risk, and we were going to have a non-impact project first. So we did all of the work for building out the first environment, learning about the networking. There were 70-something servers in the cloud that we had to move from a hosting provider to this other cloud before our contract was due. So we also knew that was going to be a huge project and we needed a 3-day weekend, right? So our contract was coming due at the end of the year. So the 3-day weekend, that's not Thanksgiving, because that's kind of cutting it close, would be Labor Day. So we worked pretty hard, and we had a successful cutover in 4 months to the Oracle Public Cloud. And there's a lot of reasons why that can't wait to tell you about, but no business impact. And then phase 2, we had about a month of stabilization. We don't really have any issues that shut the business down or that even slowed the business down. It was really very good. But then we started to get funding for the second piece, did a lessons learned, kind of a recap with GSI, and said, what do we need to do this more complex piece next, the application upgrade? We got an executive steering committee in place that had leaders from every one of the big plants, the manufacturing plants, because they're going to drive their folks, and they're going to decide whether or not it's important to get everybody on board. So we kind of had a multi-matrix big project team that was also involved. There were 90 people on the project team across our organization. And we basically managed the project as 4 sub-projects to improve focus and to make sure that everybody wasn't kind of tied in too much in meetings and not doing the work. So we had an aggressive timeline. The technical piece was Brian's problem. He had to, you want to tell him about it?
Well, it made it easy with phase 1, so it was really nice, because then you just looked at the one environment over here, does it match over here? Beautiful. The second phase, it was we added some complexity. The timeline of the cutover, we really wanted to get it done in a weekend. 2 days, 3 days, we didn't want to work on Memorial Day. We didn't want to do that. So with GSI's help, man, we brought the timeline down of the double upgrade, since we had to go from 8.11 to 9.1 to 9.2. We had to do 1.2 terabytes of data twice, and it was about 140 hours, I believe, down to 30 hours. So with a little bit of solid-state drives help and some manual manipulation, we got it in there about 30 hours. So that was kind of nice.
It was hero work. GSI did not ask me to say that, but that was hero work. We said, please take this problem and fix it. Help us. And there was some real creative juices over there, so sure. Kudos. JD customizations. We've got 2 of the folks that were on our development team here with us, Amy McGrill and Manish Pradhan, and without their team, without the team working, we had 2,000 to 3,000 customizations in our system that we had to make sure moved over without issue. Further, Federal Signal started a 9.1 upgrade about a year and a half ago, and so we created an environment on our inside of our own on-prem data center, and they started doing the retrofitting from 8.11 to 9.1. So a lot of that work, 60% of that work was done, maybe 80, was done from 8.11 to 9.1 on different hardware, but we had to then take that during this step and move it, figure out what still applied for 9.2, and move it all the way over to the 9.2 environment, and then make sure nothing broke. And those guys, along with the folks on their team, did a great job. We basically broke up our customizations into 3 groups. There were the vanilla pieces of code. There were what we called the real customizations, where you modified sales order entry. And then we broke up the groups into the clones, the 55s, the 59s. What was interesting there is we chose to put all the 9.2 functionality in with our customization wherever we could, so that later on we can test our complexity and try to rip it out as fast as possible later. Third-party configuration, we had about 27 integrations and different systems that hooked into JD Edwards. So we had a full upgrade of Vertex, not just an upgrade, but we shifted platforms. So we had basically a re-implementation of Vertex, our tax software, as well as DSI, to get to the next platform that would allow us some of the newer functionality that I'm sure DSI is talking about here this week. And the fourth sub-project that kind of sounds like, why is that its own project, the business testing and approval, was because just because the technical work is done doesn't mean you're done, or even close to done, because you have to convince folks to test when you need them to test. stop them from doing their day job, and kind of coordinate all of that, make Joe comfortable when Jen's not comfortable yet. It was a lot of fun there, but it worked for us. So this is what you guys care about, why you're here, lessons learned.
So I would think the first part of lessons learned, we learned a lot, but one of the first things is the Vertex tax. We basically had to test twice. So what I mean by that is we had Vertex 6.0, we were going to upgrade to 7.0. 7.0 wasn't working so great with 9.2. We had to play around with that, and so while we were doing that and the technical team was taking care of the upgrade, we said, okay, can you guys, on the functional side, can you start testing and just exempt all the tech stuff?
So little flavor on that. Sales order entry, you either have taxable customers or you don't have taxable customers. You could absolutely test any sales order entry vanilla functionality without the tax on, right? But to convince some of our sales guys to click the button and say, make tax exempt so that you could test the sales order functionality, it was a war. Because that means JDE doesn't work, right? And the upgrade doesn't work, and I'm not going to waste my time doing things twice, because we're all trying to be lean and efficient, and they're trying to do their jobs with less people too, like we are, right? So what we really suggest here is to test incrementally, early and often. Test vanilla first so that your technical folks, if needed, can go ahead and understand whether it was the upgrade that broke things, the network, the database, whatever. I mean, even folks on our own team really had to understand why we were asking them to do more work when this project was so compressed. But it is worth the fight. It is worth the conversation. Everybody's feelings. Joe Madden, I think he says, you're going to like me if I'm nice to you, but you're going to like me if I'm nice to you, but you're going to hate me if I lie to you, right? Tell them the truth. This is what you need to do. Test incrementally. Schedule the easy work early
so
on.
basically that's the BAs, right? So the BAs were really helping us out when we were doing vanilla 9.2. Like, what can we do while we're doing the upgrade in two different areas? We're trying to do as much work as possibly together. The BAs were doing a really great job of just testing the vanilla stuff, putting in test documentation in there, and going, okay, now let's get to the users and start doing some end-user testing. So it was really, really nice. Expecting legacy stuff, so I would see the lessons learned on that would be, a few of them would be one of the DNS. We had some DNS issues that when we brought our DNS over into our Active Directory environment, we had to learn a lot about the Oracle Cloud and whether it needed DNS in there, or we were using Terraform a little bit. Oracle was helping us out with that, to write scripts, and we just had to play around with learning that. We should have been testing that probably a little bit earlier in the process with DNS, but we learned.
Well, we wouldn't have known. So there was there was a script that was running. It was deleting entries that were hanging out there forever, and or new entries, or creating whatever it was, and it actually was deleting our server IP addresses because we were running on the second NIC card. You would never know that. So what we're saying there is, don't be afraid when there's an issue in production, because there's always an issue when you upgrade, right? Look at everything. Don't just look at JDE. Look at whether or not your connectivity is there. Look at whether or not your Active Directory security group's allowing the person to get to that new folder you created because you have a shared drive now that JDE drops files on. Those issues, make sure you have your ops team included in this upgrade, because it's a business transformational project. It's not an apps project anymore. Those are the old days.
Yeah, and so the operation team was helping out on this last one. We had a 9.1 environment. It was a POC environment in our main data center. So we had our 9.1 environment already up there. So what do we do with this environment? Can we reuse it? Where do we swing that cost? And so we used it a little bit. And then we actually had a tool inside of Oracle Cloud. And we could actually bring a few of those servers of the 9.1 environment into the Oracle Public Cloud, and basically helped us out with the timing of that. Maybe if we learned a little bit about that beforehand, it would have saved us some time, but we did a good job.
And we would have budgeted some money for it.
Right.
So that would have been good to know.
Yep.
We would have thought that you should put all the environments kind of closer to each other,
Right.
especially if you're trying to cut in such a short weekend. We were trying to move from our on-prem environment. That's where 9.1 was first. It was, we had 8.11 out in the cloud, but our 9.1 environment was on-prem, and we thought we'd be able to just migrate the code pieces and go back out to the cloud. And that's where we cut a lot of time. We actually had to move the environments together to kind of do the transition.
Yep. So we have a portal for our dealers, about 2,000 or so users out there that we basically moved. On our phase 1 lift and shift, we did a 811 portal. We probably should have tested a little bit sooner. The stuff that we didn't know, we should have known, and we should have tested before we just said, hey, this is probably going to work because it's already been working for forever. So there's some web certificate type stuff that we should have looked at.
So limit assumptions made. A couple assumptions that seemed like they made a whole lot of sense at the time, but you would never realize somebody was coming from a different place. We built, so I just kind of talked about it, we built 9.1 about a year and a half past. Yep. So when the technical team was working to upgrade 9.2, of course they're going to start with the most recent environment. So they brought 9.1 and they upgraded it to 9.2 because the first leg of the upgrade was done. But then when we were ready to cut over, nobody told them, because it was a new technical team, nobody told them that the security table hadn't been maintained. We weren't in dual maintenance for a year and a half. So we had to move security over. We had to move user roles and role relationships over. And we had to kind of do that. We had to reset passwords more than once. Not after the cutover, but just it was a couple weeks prior. And it was a lot of fun when you don't tell people what they need to know. So you work through that. Another one was our audit process. So we have workflow that we're using in JDE to approve project promotions. Because with 3,000 customizations, we got tired of the paperwork, right? So that audit functionality, our developers and our business analysts and our business users really just like to click the box, I approve this, take it to production. Well, it was looking at an audit history table for OMW. And of course, OMW is not the same in 9.1 and 9.2, and so we have to put the records in the table. And so there are little things like that where they take a week, and that's a lot of time when you're looking at, a couple month project. The last one's pretty important. I skipped one. So business testing phase gets nice and tensions get exciting because people are afraid. So there's a lot of fear moving to 9, even though we were coming from JDE to JDE, and we tried a lot to talk about that, it was still an upgrade. And what folks knew before is we moved them off of their most favorite system, and we're manufacturing, and there's a lot of loyalty in our wonderful company. Yeah. So, the folks used to go on the 400, they still sometimes kind of want to look up old data. So you try to tell them you're going to do this, they're on board the whole project, and then right at the end we start business testing. No way, I'm not doing it. I'm not ready. Like, we can't test every single report. And so you just got to manage it and don't let your feelings get hurt. Just figure out why. Listen to why, because there's a lot of very good reasons why. And company A very well does something that company B doesn't. An issue we had here was we had somebody who was a business analyst for some time and now is in a functional role in the company. And when they were a business analyst, they knew that there was this fix program that was created back in 2008 to fix this thing when the records came out of alignment. Yeah. And what happened was, so he had the problem, he ran the fix program, no problem. Well, the other company's like, I can't approve this because the program's broken. They just didn't talk, they didn't know. And so this guy's for sure that the upgrade's not going to work and it's going to shut them down and we can't invoice, and this one's like, we don't have a problem here. So a lot of coordination. This is not just an IT project, and IT really has to play a consultative role in business problems and business situations when you take on this upgrade. It's no problem, it's just a different game. So make sure that you have the folks in the room that can take those conversations and can go back gently and bring that back home. The last one, have a clear production support handoff post cutover. So we sprinted for a year, right, as we did this project, and then we kept sprinting after the go live because we were just like in go mode so much, and we wanted, the upgrade's not sexy. I don't know if I can say that, but it's true. It's just moving to a new platform to enable, like John said, right, to enable the new functionality that's there. Right? So we had old 8.11 functionality still. And everybody was like, well, so great, we did all this work, but what are we getting? So then our technical team, we wanted to work really hard and get all the new functionality out there. So let me see, I want the UX one, I want all this great stuff. Well, you have to pay for that, right? And there's billing and there's hours, and you still run your folks into the ground when you're like, please do this. And they're like, okay, sure. Because okay, sure during a project, absolutely needs to happen. But in production support, there's regular work days, and we have to be, we have to speak about timelines, we have to explain, expectations and how long it's going to take to people. So I think this last one's pretty important, to switch off of like project mode into production support mode. And then your users also have to understand and kind of get used to the fact that, yes, I did that for you in 10 minutes during the month prior to go live because I wanted to make you happy. And right now I still want to make you happy, but I've got to schedule that next thing with the rest of the projects we're doing. And so there's a real fundamental shift to kind of slow down and make sure you're doing the right things for the business. You guys, this is the most important slide. Partners are crucial to successful execution. Protect your time, your team's time, because there's a timeline and you're only successful if you speak, you say, this is what I'm going to do, and then you deliver, right? Do what you say and say what you do. We've heard that since we were kids, at least I have. Figure out where you need help and get somebody to help and make the case. I mean, this is a business decision to upgrade. The business will absolutely support you if you make the case clearly. It doesn't matter how great of a partner that you have, and we had a great partner. We had great partners all around. AT&T helped us out phenomenally. Oracle, man, shout out to them. We had a lot of folks helping us, making sure we were successful in the timeline that we needed. And GSI, I said their name lots of times, but they don't know what's important to me running the project, right? They don't know that I'm on the phone over here with one vendor and this other vendor's sprinting and trying to change something for me. They don't know that Brian shifted gears from a technical perspective and moved some things around. So you have to definitely make sure that they're aware. And then when you go to the cloud, it's a learning curve for a lot of people because it's new. It's happening so fast, and you guys, technology, we know what it's looking like, right? It's moving so fast that the best guys can keep up with some of it, right? So you gotta surround yourself with a lot of really great folks and talk. The most important thing is you can't just be a technical expert anymore. You have to talk. You say, I changed this gear. How does that impact your gear, right? So what was really important there is just don't expect them to know when you change gears because it very well might impact. We had a meeting about networking,
Yep.
And we kind of wrote down the architecture. So in the public cloud, we had like a front door, and then all the processing was done over here in their different data centers. So you might have like Equinox or Digital Realty, that's where all the clouds are, a whole bunch of different buildings. But the different rooms and the different plazas have the different machines. And so you might need to know that you're coming in here and something back here for the technical folks. If that's not documented and it's not shared with anybody who needs to know when you're on a troubleshooting call, you can spend 8 hours with a whole lot of people on that call because we expected that we all knew that. But a couple hours into the call, we found out that we needed that documented and the folks that were troubleshooting, because when you're on a support, and Oracle's phenomenal, they're also huge. So when they can't know every one of us as customers, they can't know my setup and how it's different than yours. And I have a very real reason for mine being different than yours. So make sure that, everybody, the players that are sitting at that troubleshooting table really know what they're talking about. And don't be afraid to give them the information. And we're all in this together. That's the point about escalation with partners needing to happen right away. When you're escalating, what you're just trying to say is, thank you, person who's responsible for, this piece. Are you sure that you understand the big picture, right? Don't be afraid to call that out when you're working with support in any one of our vendors, because all the telecom vendors are doing the same thing. They're changing so fast that something we've learned pretty clearly during this upgrade was making sure everybody has all the pieces to the puzzle. So Brian, technical folks don't always make the best communicators.
How'd that get in the slide?
Details to share. Like, this might be obvious, and I'm sorry for consulting, I'm technical too, okay? But it's very true. So, but they always have a very real reason for saying what they're saying. So you'll have to convince them to say it a different way, or to tell me why I care, right? And or help them say it. And that's been we had to work through that gap a few times, because the problem was able to be solved, but just the way we were talking about the problem, it wasn't getting it solved anywhere. So what's next,
Okay.
Brian?
So this is where we take a deep breath and go, yes, we're done. But this is the fun part. So what's next? What can we actually start using 9.2 for? All this stuff that you see right here. So we're starting right now as we're going through and doing all these cool, fun things. We're doing the monitoring. We're doing the UX1. We're doing the E1 pages soon. We're going to hopefully start using Orchestrator. We're going to start using the mobility right now. We want to start using vanilla mobility as much as possible with Oracle, and then we're just doing as much as we can.
And so then
as fast as we
everybody
can.
on the team says, well, where do you start and when, right? Ask the business questions, right? IT today is not, we're not implementation partners. We're not folks that manage servers, right? What business problem are we trying to solve? How can we contribute to enabling growth and profit for the organization that we're at today? Why do they want to keep us, right? Because you can outsource a whole lot of repetitive work. Why are we valuable? What value can we bring to the company using this tool, this platform, right? This is an enabler. So the password resets, it's a GSI product, and they didn't ask us to put it in there, but it was a business problem for us because 40% of our service desk tickets that were coming in were password resets. Well, I could just reduce that cost pretty simply by making this checkbox available. It wasn't very hard to do. And there's different things like that. So we can say we're using Pages or we're using UX1, but what we're doing first is we're going out and we're talking to our users and we're saying, where's the meat and potatoes here? What can we really do to make your job easier and prioritizing that way. Before we cut back over to John, this is what we did when our project went live. We gave 100 people in our organization these shirts. We moved to the Oracle Cloud. We leveled up twice, right? There's a lot in this image. We leveled up twice, and look at this, we're staying. At least, right, that's our goal right now. This arrow's not going outside of the cloud, and it's still on the way up because we believe that we're going to improve the functionality for our business. We are going to be able to take it to the next level. One of our business strategic goals are to acquire. We want to have a platform that's easy to manage, that's easy to bring companies on, and make people's job easier. You guys have been in IT. If you've been in IT or in a business for a long time, usually an ERP upgrade doesn't make a stockholder call unless there was a problem and we have to explain bad earnings. Well, we made the stock earning call, and they said, we did an upgrade and nobody even knew. Usually that's not called out. So much thanks to Oracle, to AT&T, to GSI, and to our team at home, our support, and the executive team, phenomenal job.
Yep.
And GSI is going to tell you a little bit about themselves. John.
Thank you. Federal Signal, they're a manufacturer, and they went to a public cloud. A lot of companies are, especially manufacturers, are a little afraid. Like people they want to touch and feel the equipment, but it is possible. So now I want to at least tell you a little bit about GSI. We've known Federal Signal for a number of years, and I'll just give you 5 minutes about us. We are a complete J.D. Edwards EnterpriseOne and World Consulting Organization. We were established in 2004. We have over 100 employees. Right now our business is separated into consulting services and managed services. I happen to deal with the managed services side. We're also a NetSuite partner and getting into things like Salesforce and ServiceNow. We do quite a bit of cloud and hosting work now. It's just a natural extension of the kind of people that we've had to hire over the years. A lot of techies, a lot of people that have, very, very cloud literate. Our clients definitely have cloud need, and we get to, very thankful to Federal Signal for letting us help them with the project, and it was very, very successful. Sometimes we have people do a single-step approach, but Federal Signal had a need. They needed to get off of their current provider. I don't know, for those of you that have been on a cloud, if you miss your mark, sometimes you're faced with a 6-month extension you weren't necessarily expecting. And so we had to hurry up and make sure we got over, and that's what broke it into two stages. So we have a couple of products. Jennifer and Brian brought up a few of them. The Geniuses are our advanced monitoring solution. It's a little more than monitoring. It's also analytics, predictive, tell you things that might happen in the future to give you some good dashboards to take a look at. We also have Genesis, which is our performance testing product. Which we did in this particular project to see if how performance was going to go. So we did have an aggressive performance testing initiative. We have G Shield, which is a password reset tool and two-factor authentication, and then Rapid Reconciler, which is our inventory to general ledger reconciliation and in-transit application. And then we have a newer product which we call our rapid approval process, which is a part of Salesforce. Anybody that's worked with Salesforce, you have to do approvals. It takes forever. We wrote an app to make it nice and easy so that you could quickly get that done. So now for the good part, the questions and answers. You can ask any of the three of us. I guess I'll ask you both to stand and see if we have any questions that you want to ask of either myself or Brian and Jennifer. So do we have any? Yes, sir.
It's a two-part question. I know you mentioned DSI. Was DSI moved to cloud? And if so, were there any latencies or performance impact that you saw after you moved it?
So the question was, did they move DSI to the cloud? That was the first half, right? And then the second was, did they have any latency type of issues?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, my mic's on. So phase one was the lift and shift from our provider to Oracle Cloud. We moved everything over there. And we probably didn't tell you this, but we have a fast connect into the Oracle Cloud. And so that's part of our MPLS. So there wasn't any latency there. So we lifted and shifted our 4.2 version of DSI. It's really, really old. But we didn't want any risk on that. So when we went to phase 2, we went to 8.5, and we upgraded it then. So
No issues.
no issues. Yeah.
Yes?
Oh, go.
I thought you said you had a lot of customizations, right?
Yes.
And were you able to get rid of them, or even with all those customizations, you still went to the public cloud?
So we did. We had 2,000 to 3,000 customizations, closer to the 3,000.
About 3,000,
And we moved those all to the public cloud. Yes, we want to get rid of them,
Yeah.
but you can't introduce all that business change at the same time. So we brought them over and went live. We had a little, we had some headwinds because we started the 9.1 upgrade project about a year and a half prior, and the team was working through some of the upgrade steps from 8.11 to 9.1 at that point in time. If we didn't have that in our favor, we might have done a sub-project to figure out which customizations we needed to bring over and which we didn't. We did also prioritize our customization. So what was really important is we bucketed those into like 85 projects or programs. And so Kanban was a program. It might have had 75 pieces, but we called it Kanban. We put it into business terminology and gave a developer or a team of developers that program. So we would release a customization set at a time.
I'm going to follow the microphone for questions. Go ahead.
Do you know if the cloud providers offer hosting on all of the certified platforms like the IBM Power Systems, the Oracle systems, and Windows?
Let's see. What the question is do the cloud providers give certifications on what platforms they support?
No, what I mean is, can I run my EnterpriseOne on IBM I, on IBM Power in your cloud environment? Or do you not? Do you offer
Yes.
IBM Power Systems hardware?
The question is can you put IBM I into a public cloud, correct? OCI in particular?
No, I'm aware that there are IBM Power Systems
Yeah.
in cloud centers. Do you offer that for EnterpriseOne customers to run on IBM I or on Oracle, or
So-
is it on Windows?
So here's what we
not
did,
looking.
and I don't know exactly about IBMI, maybe you do, John, but what we did is for the things that weren't delivered out of the box as a platform as a service, we chose the infrastructure as a service component, and we found an acceptable platform. Infrastructure is basically bare metal, and then you install it as you need, and then you install the applications that you needed at the time. So there's a way just basically to replicate bare metal in the cloud now. The actual
if you want to
versioning,
run,
you
yeah.
need to check with Oracle.
Yeah,
But-
if it can run Linux or Windows, it can run on Oracle Cloud.
We have several clients that are running the I-series, not in a public cloud, but in a managed cloud providers. What we found, I'm not sure if we've answered your question clearly, but we can address it offline if you'd like. Maybe understand it a little better.
So 2 questions. First is cost. How did operating costs compare from what you had before to going to Oracle Cloud?
So we had a bogey. We were off of JDE support, but then we were also, we needed to buy upwards of $1 million of database on-prem licenses to scale the way that we needed because we had a lot of data. So if we wanted our next platform, whether it was staying with our same hosting provider or moving to any cloud, we needed to procure licenses, and so we were able to do that in an OpEx fashion by moving to the Oracle Cloud. But take that out of the mix. That was a big, one of the drivers for us. But take that out of the mix, it was, I think it was pretty even when we compared the two because of the less amount of touching and physical things that we needed to do to prepare for an environment that wasn't in the cloud.
You also took advantage of getting back on J.D. Edwards support at the same
Right.
time, and that enabled that process a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
The second one is my own ignorance. On the Oracle Cloud, do they do your CNC, or do you guys still have a different provider?
So we
for
have
that?
some folks in-house. We have some folks in-house
GSI.
that know and support and interface with GSI, but GSI manages all of that for us.
I'm pretty loud. You guys said something about Vertex 07 and you were struggling with that? You were struggling with the 07 series, I assume was what it was. What were some of the struggles with that?
It was our customizations. So we had 2 meetings when we first did the lift and shift. We met with the vendor and we said, we think we want to go. We were thinking about moving from the one series that we were on to the other, and we were asking if it was going to be compatible. We had their directors on when everything was good, and then we had a second follow-up call once we kicked off the phase 2 upgrade project. Everything was going to be fine, but we didn't know about or know that it would impact a couple of our internal customized programs. We're passing data from one table to another table, and it wasn't working. So we actually had to re-platform probably in the last month prior to the project going live, and Vertex helped us with that without any issues.
Yeah.
But it was a platform shift. So I would ask you, think about it. Ask if you're the only customer on that version doing that one thing, because that did get us. A lot of nights.
Speaking of Vertex, is your Vertex on-prem or was that in the cloud already,
It's all
or
in the
did you
cloud.
move that?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Was it-
all third parties are all inside the cloud next to each other.
We have our on-prem environment, which is JD Edwards, the whole suite. So we have application servers, database servers, and the web servers, all the Jazz servers, as well as DSI, Vertex, Create Forms,
ADSI.
our shipping system, ADSI, and our
Watch
data
out.
warehouse as well is in the cloud, and our DR environment. That's all in the Oracle Cloud.
How do you handle disaster recovery?
Good question. So we had a call probably a year or so ago. We had a call with actual JDE people that actually wrote the white papers. And they told us kind of like, GSI was on the phone as well, and we kind of talked through what do we need to do, because we have 2 data centers, one in Chicago, one in Ashburn, Virginia. And what do we do? I mean, VMware, you could just, send stuff over there, right? This one, the way we set it up was not the way they wanted us to do. So it actually worked out really, really good. So we're basically using Windows or Microsoft robocopies of the stuff that we need to for like the third parties and stuff. We're also using database.
We're using DataGuard and
DataGuard,
JD
yep.
Edwards.
So it's live, up to date between the 2 data centers. It's synced that way. And then we're also doing block storage from the other net stuff on the servers, on the instances.
On the Oracle Cloud.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
How do you handle network issues?
So the network issues would be inside the Oracle Public Cloud, and we do get notified when outages are happening. They're getting better at that. When we first went live, we'd find out before they did. So we had to kind of figure that out, and then they figured between the 2 data centers, they actually have a network line there. It's pretty slow, but we don't need it to be fast.
It's always in sync.
Yeah.
So it's really, we
Yeah.
probably
Never a
have
problem.
like a 10-minute lag.
Yeah.
And the DBAs have monitors, GSI,
Mm-hmm.
they have monitors when something isn't in sync, and they let us know. And then we usually there's a connection that dropped or something, and just like our regular data center, it's performing well.
Yeah.
talk about some DNS hosting issues. Can you elaborate more and how do you resolve those?
So
Host name?
So the DNS issue that we had is when we were on-prem, we had 2 NIC cards on every server, and so we had an internal communication band and then an externally facing or an application-facing band.
Out-of-band network.
An out-of-band network. And the new ones were not set up. There was a script that was written that had all the actual server names and IP addresses in this host name file. And then there was a script that would go and delete everything that wasn't in there or replace the host name with that master list. Well, we didn't know to populate that master list with our new server name. So we had to disable the script because it would run and it would check the file and some of our new servers weren't in there.
Also, before we were on Oracle Cloud, we had an Active Directory one-way sync instead of two-way sync. And so that was one of the things that we had to learn. Okay, it's back in our scope in our MPLS, so we can control it. So we just had to learn around those. Yeah.
Any more questions?
So initially we didn't know, was data archiving part of the project? That was the question. We thought we could have done it without it. So we started down the project saying, how do we archive and convince, especially the finance folks in our businesses, to move this data over here and trust that it's right. And we were pretty sure that trying to take on a data archiving project in this tight of a time frame would jeopardize the timeline. So we actually did some creative magic. GSI did some phenomenal creative magic to understand. They basically looked at what the upgrade process did with our larger tables and created a way to let us move that data quickly and safely and check that it was all there so we can take on that project later.
So
we definitely recommend doing it before, though. Right?
You have 1.2 terabytes?
We have 1.2 terabytes. I don't know. I recommend finding the magic button.
Right.
Any other questions?
No, no more questions? That means you guys,
Thanks.
we'll get to the goodies.
Just sit. Yeah. John's got the goodies.
Oh, he's got the goodies?
We have to get the Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let's get some goodies passed out here. Does that mean I get to keep the shirt?
You earned it, John.
Did I? Thank you. All right. Let's see. We've got up here. We've got the 23andMe DNA test. So let's see who wins. Ticket number 219527. Ends in 527. All right. Come on up. Oh.
Bring it over here.
Yeah, you're going to take it? Okay, thank you. All right, the next one we have, looks like we've got a tile set here, little tile combo pack. I've got one, I kind of like them. It's pretty cool, find my car keys all the time. 219193. 193. Right there. Okay. You got it? Thank you, Jennifer. All right. And last but not least, we have a Fire HD8 with Alexa. This is pretty cool here. 219542. 542. All right. Congratulations. All right. Thank you. All right. I think that's it, isn't it? All right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming. I guess it's time for us to go to the vendor showcase now. Have fun and enjoy the rest of the InFocus show. Thank you.